Hey there, We Can't Wrestle podcast listeners. If you haven't noticed, we have switched our server to Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple, and many, many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership, and it's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So go ahead, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Highly recommended by me and everybody else here at the We Can't Wrestle podcast.
You're listening to the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Now it's time for our host, Nate Maxson.
Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to the We Can't Wrestle podcast. I'm your host, Nate Maxson. This is going to be a very short episode here, a really quick one I'm doing to make the announcement of the 2021 class of the We Can't Wrestle Podcast Hall of Fame. As you know, we started our Hall of Fame last year. Last year, our inductees were Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, The Undertaker, Bobby Heenan, Andre the Giant, Randy Savage, Vince McMahon Jr., and Steve Austin. And of course, I assembled the panel once again this year with a couple of new additions, and there will be episodes of the show, just like there were last year, discussing and debating the results of this year's Hall of Fame. But I just wanted to do this really quick one to announce our inductees for 2021. So for those of you that did not hear last year or are new to the show, the criteria that the panel has to consider to nominate someone for the Hall of Fame is that they have to be 10 years as a pro, 10 years plus as a pro. Exceptions can be made in a situation, obviously, like Magnum TA. In-ring ability, promo ability, being of significance to the business, whether as a whole or to a certain promotion or territory, drawing power. And for tag teams, they need to have been a consistent team for at least one calendar year. So there were some guys, some talent that was on the 20-person ballot last year that remain on the ballot this year. You stay on the ballot for 5 years. After that, you have to go back into the tumbler for renomination, essentially. But the guys that stayed on the ballot this year from last year were Stu Hart, Terry Funk, Jerry Lawler, Dusty Rhodes, Roddy Piper, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Bruno Sammartino, Paul Heyman, Sting, Ricky Dozon, Gene Okerlund. So that's the 12 that stayed on. And then based on the votes that I got from the panel, their nominations, I should say, in addition to those 12, the new 8 that made 20 for this year's ballot, added to the ballot, were Mick Foley, Arn Anderson, Lou Thez, Harley Race, Jim Cornette, The Rock, Fred Blassie, and Bob Backlund. So based on that, you have now, the guys got to vote on this 20-person ballot. And we have whittled it down to this year's class, 2021 class of the We Can't Wrestle Podcast Hall of Fame. If Meltzer can do it, I can do it too. I just like to throw that in there all the time. Somebody's out there rolling their eyes going, who's this guy? Got a Hall of Fame, never wrestled, blah, blah, blah. Neither did Meltzer. But anyway, here you go. The 2021 class, 2021 We Can't Wrestle Podcast class. Here they are. The first inductee, Terry Funk, one of my favorites. I was pushing for him hard last year. The next inductee, the American Dream baby, Dusty Rhodes. The next inductee to the 2021 class, Bruno Sammartino. After Bruno, we induct this year, Jerry the King Lawler. The next inductee, Harley Race. And coming up next, 2021 class, Jim Cornette. He actually surprised me, and I'll get into that. We'll get into that when we get into the shows actually discussing all this. There's some that really I want to debate really hardcore. Bret Hart is the next inductee, and the final inductee into the 2021 class is Lou Thesz. So Terry Funk, Dusty Rhodes, Bruno Sammartino, Jerry Lawler, Harley Race, Jim Cornette, Bret Hart, and Lou Thesz. That is your 2021 We Can't Wrestle Podcast Hall of Fame class. And I am very much looking forward to recording some episodes with the panel that voted for this, debating and discussing the results and the future of the next Hall of Fame for next year. You know, who are you rooting for next year? Because the guy can only be on the ballot for 5 years. So anyway, that being said, congratulations to the inductees. Congratulations to the panel for getting through another of my convoluted Hall of Fame seasons. And again, in the coming weeks, we will be having episodes discussing and debating this Hall of Fame result. But I want to thank each and every one of you for supporting the We Can't Wrestle podcast, the WrestleNet Radio Podcast Network in general. And we will see you next time around. We'll have a more formal episode of the show here in just a few days. But thank you for listening. This is the We Can't Wrestle podcast Hall of Fame class of 2021. Thanks for listening, everybody.